This is a pretty weird exchange between Bill Maher and Michael Moore here. Moore is going to lay out his argument as to why he thinks Democrats are going to facilitate a blue wave in the midterm elections, and Maher responds in a curious way, so I want to go ahead and take a look at the video here. Michael Moore does drone on for quite a while, but again, Bill's reaction is really something. I'll also address the substance of what Moore is saying here, and whether or not I think it's accurate.
And you and I are two well-known pessimists, I think, and I have never felt this optimistic. And I was on your show here, what's now 6 years ago, when I said that Trump was going to win, and the audience booed me, and you stood up for me. I was just saying I'm out, I'm around, I'm from the Midwest. I think I had a pretty good sense of what was going to happen. I think the opposite's going to happen this time. I think that there is going to be such a landslide against the traitors, especially the 147 Republicans who just hours after the insurrection voted to not certify the elected president of the United States, Joe Biden. And I think that there is going to be so many people coming out to vote. I want to thank the Supreme Court for reminding women that they are, in fact, second-class citizens and taking their rights away like this. There are so many, I don't know if you've seen the list of states, starting with Kansas, which, by the way, 60% of the people in Kansas a couple months ago showed up to say, no, we want abortion legal and we want it in our Constitution. We want to stay there. And I think that there's going.
So, is what he's talking about, is it possible? Yeah, it's possible that there is a massive backlash to, effectively a political party saying we sort of openly don't believe in democracy. That is what we're dealing with when it comes to a lot of these elected Republicans. Voting to not certify the election, defending Trump as he actively says, just put me back in office, and or at the very least, redo the election. You're disregarding the 60 court cases that said Biden won. You're disregarding the Arizona audit, which said Biden won by even more than we thought he won by on election day. There is an embrace of authoritarianism. Now, also, you have 157 of these Republicans now voted against gay marriage. This is an issue that everybody thought it was settled, but since Roe versus Wade was thrown out by the Supreme Court, now it's possible the Supreme Court throws out gay marriage too. And, people don't agree with that. It's a 70% issue in the country, if not more than that now. You had 195 Republicans vote against a right to contraception. That is truly extreme. This Roe versus Wade position is truly extreme, where every poll shows Democrats have a massive advantage on that issue. So between going full authoritarian on the election and then full authoritarian on the social issues realm, that's going to help Democrats big time. Now, the area where I think he doesn't have nearly enough caution, Michael Moore, is that he doesn't realize that if you have inflation plus massive spike in unemployment, and so if the economy sort of implodes within the next 2 months, well, then that might override any and all other concerns. And you're right back to having a conversation about the red wave as opposed to the blue wave. Now, if everything stays relatively stable from now until Election Day, yeah, I would say Democrats will keep the Senate and might barely lose the House. It is possible Democrats maintain the House and, keep the Senate too. That is possible as well. But probably they're going to split it in that scenario. But if the economy falls off a cliff, we're right back to having a red wave conversation. So he's a little too overconfident. Look, I think the Democrats sort of bottomed out when Biden had a 33% approval rating and wasn't doing anything for an extended period of time. They bottomed out at one point, and they have surged back. Biden surged back. The Democratic Party has surged back in terms of the perception among the American people. The question is, did they peak just a little too early? Because the Fed is trying to induce a recession. They're trying to tick up unemployment to make it about 6%. And there's going to be electoral consequences to that if people are feeling the pain, and they will in that scenario. So you just have to hope the economy doesn't fall off a fucking cliff. And it is a hope, because now, again, they're actively trying to facilitate that. So, anyway, that's what I think he gets wrong in his analysis here. Again, if you have the economy staying relatively even keel, then yes, I think what he's talking about becomes the main issue of the American people. Roe versus Wade, right-wing authoritarianism, Trump's embrace of QAnon and the outright extremism of him. But it's possible that all goes on the back burner, and then we're right back to the red wave conversation. But it is an interesting election for that specific reason, that you really are having a conversation about anything from a blue wave to a red wave. Because all the polls recently, by the way, this is an important fact, for all the recent elections that we had, the Democrats were undervalued in the polls. The Democrats were far overperforming the polls because of Roe versus Wade. So does that carry over into the midterms? We shall see.
Such a massive turnout of women. 70% of all new registered voters in Kansas were women. In Wisconsin, it's 17% more than men are registering to vote. Pennsylvania, 12%. I mean, in most of these states, these are women who have not voted, who've not been registered, are coming out to register. And then look what happened in Alaska. Alaska only gets one member of Congress, and it elects a woman, a native Alaskan woman, to defeat Sarah Palin. Alaska.
By the way, we totally need ranked choice voting all across the country, because one of the reasons why that happened was ranked choice voting. God, I want it so bad everywhere. We need it. And by the way, overnight, third parties would become much more viable if you had ranked choice voting. Because somebody like me, or like a lot of you guys watching this, then you can, without having any worry whatsoever about this notion of the spoiler effect, you could vote like Green Party, Democratic Party, whatever. And if the Greens don't get enough, then it'll just go to the next candidate. And you wouldn't worry like, oh, did I just throw away a vote, and did I help the people that I don't like? So that was a big reason why Alaska went the way it did. So we need that everywhere.
This is there are so many signs of this that I honestly think if we all do our work, and if we all get people to get out there, and we get out there ourselves, we have a chance to do something that it does happen every now and then. 1993, Canada voted every conservative member in parliament except for 2 out of office. Gone.
Okay, jump ahead here.
Are going to save the day, and we are going to be very happy the day after the election. And I know people are afraid. Well, don't say that, Mike. Now people won't show up. Yes, I know, because the old school Democrats, liberals, were a little like, oh, wow, yeah. It's not that way anymore. I think there's a real revolution, a nonviolent revolution going on in favor of democracy. People don't want to lose it. We know how close we are to losing it, and we can't lose it.
Michael Moore, now let's meet our panel.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Question 2.
So Maher seems a little ticked off that he gave like a really, really long answer, because he did go on for 4 minutes, thereabouts, right?
I'm just excited. We're going to get rid of these people that are trying to tear the country down. We're going to get rid of them. I'm excited about it.
I see. We have some Republicans watching this show. I mean, we are for all Americans on this show. So.
Yeah, no, but that's why.
I know.
Abortion.
Right, shut the fuck up. Shut up right now.
Jesus. He was pissed. And that line was interesting. It's like, we got a lot of Republicans. We got some Republicans that watch this show. We're for all Americans. So in other words, he's like, stop offending the right. Okay, let's run that back a touch.
I'm sorry. Question 2.
I'm just excited. We're going to get rid of these people that are trying to tear the country down. We're going to get rid of them.
So that's his line. We're going to get rid of the people that are trying to tear the country down, talking about the Republican politicians. Right? And again, I mean, look, I think it's fair if they're saying, like, let's install Donald Trump as president again, or let's not certify the 2020 election and stuff like that. To say they're trying to tear the country down, I mean, yeah, if, like, the most basic of basic institutions they reject, it's a fair description, right? That's not, being a Democratic partisan hack. That's just like describing objective reality. But Maher doesn't like that.
I'm excited about it.
I see. We have some Republicans watching this show. We are for all Americans on this show. So
here's why that's interesting to me. Maher has, within the past, 6 months, a year or so, whatever it is, he has sort of leaned in a little bit more to like I'm the reasonable centrist role, and he loves to attack what he views as like the far left and wokeism, and even now he was going after student debt reduction, right? Like he's now leaning into this perspective, and he's gotten a lot of praise from Fox News, for example. He talked about that. He's like, they love me now. And it looks like he's taken this to heart, and he's actively trying to like keep the right-wing supporters. But what's interesting is he's not doing that by just being honest and direct about what he believes and having people on the right come to him on his own terms. No, he's kind of trying to quell what I think is legitimate criticism of that mentality and ideology. And that's why he tells Michael Moore to shut, we have Republicans who watch this show, we're for everybody. This is right after Michael Moore says, effectively, we're going to get rid of the traitors, we're going to get rid of the people who are trying to destroy this country. Again, he's not talking about all Republican voters there. He's talking about the elected Republicans in Washington, D.C., who actively were trying to overthrow a Democratic election. So Michael Moore is correct in that assessment. And Bill Maher is like triggered by it, and he's like, my right-wing viewers, don't get too mad. And he even goes on to say, shut the fuck up.
No, but that's why...
I know.
Abortion,
right, shut the fuck up. Shut up right now. And answer one other question.
All right, and that's the end of this clip here, so... it seems like Maher doesn't want to offend his new right-wing viewers. But, Bill, I got news for you. Having Michael Moore on at all is going to offend those viewers. He was, I don't know how many of you guys remember this, he was the #1 boogeyman of the right during the entire Bush era. And it's all because Michael Moore was based and saying based things, like Bush is a war criminal and the war in Iraq is illegal. And they were super triggered by that. And they accused him of being unpatriotic and with the terrorists. And so the right has forever hated Michael Moore because they don't like that he's like loud and aggressive and on the left. And so, Bill, just having Michael Moore on is going to trigger these people, these newfound, viewers of yours. No little bit of light scolding at the end, like, well, we're for everybody, is gonna change the fact that the right despises this guy, and they won't take kindly to you talking to him. So, anyway, there you have it. Bill Maher trying to not offend his new right-wing viewers, and Michael Moore saying something that I think is fair and true. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.